I am swinging from a 7-story window, throwing parties in a 10 by 7 cell. It's astounding the lengths I'll go to convince the whole damn world I don't need anybody's help. Yeah, I am waving while I drown. Don't bother swimming out to save me, I will only drag you down. I'll try to use your body as a life raft, cause if there's room enough for one, there must be room enough for two. I'll sail the good ship you into the sunset, sipping on savory water till my liver turns blue. Sha-na-na, sha-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Is broadcast in the evening news. I will be relieved. La, I am waving while I drown. Don't bother swimming out to save me, I will only drag you down. I'm waving while I drown. Don't bother swimming out to save me, I will only drag you down. La, 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 singing, hey, hey, alright, yeah, I wrote that one myself. It's astounding the lengths I'll go to convince the whole damn world I don't need anybody's help. Fuck.
Yes, everybody, it is me, Matt Wright, coming to you actually live this week on Muddied Waters Media. Welcome to the Writer's Block. Thank you all so much for spending a Thursday evening with me, because as we all know, there are a ton of things that you could be doing on a Thursday evening, and I am truly honored that you would choose to spend them here with me. Again, thank you all so much. First and foremost, allow me to thank the wonderful, the fantastic, the brilliant Justin for the kava I am drinking on today's episode. Thank you very much, Justin, to you and to all of the people watching. I say, Bula Vinaka. Thank you so much to the Narcissist Cookbook for allowing me to use his music at the beginning and the end of every single episode of the Writer's Block. If you want to check him out, you can find him on all of your favorite music streaming apps. And yeah, check him out. He's got a lot of good stuff. I'm a huge fan, and he's a super nice guy. So be sure to look up the Narcissist Cookbook. Now, before I get to my guest, and I've tried to have a show with this guest like 4 times in a row, 4 weeks in a row. And because I was having so many issues, we never were able to make it work. But now, finally, everything is working, or at least it was right before the show. And if we get this one off without a hitch, it'll be the first time in so long that Muddied Waters Media puts out a show without an audio issue, that I will be so ecstatic. But I'm excited to have him on. But before we get there, let's pay some bills. First and foremost, Mudwater. Oops, I forgot to resize these things. Mudwater. I don't even know what I'm resizing right now, and it's not that. Mudwater is the official coffee alternative of Muddied Waters Media. If you wake up in the morning and you say, hey, you know what? I hate myself because I drink too much coffee. You and I probably aren't that close of friends because I drink way too much coffee. But if you're one of those people and you say, you know what I want something that has less caffeine and tastes worse. Well, I've got something for you. I've got Mudwater. It's a coffee alternative made with masala chai, cacao, mushrooms, turmeric, sea salt, cinnamon, and that is it. And that tastes exactly how you think. That combination of 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 of those 6 ingredients is going to taste. It tastes like a wet foot. So add honey, just add honey to it. Trust me, it is worth it to add the honey. Spring the extra bucks, get local honey, and you can help fight off allergies. Mud water. If you want to make the switch today, head on over to muddiedwatersoffreedom.com/mud, and you too can be one of the many people jumping off the coffee bandwagon. The Gravy King. The Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus, the fastest growing waffle related caucus in the entire universe, and the second largest caucus in the Libertarian Party, except we aren't really a caucus because we don't do anything. We share memes. It started out as a group to share donkey pictures and waffle pictures, and somehow evolved into the Waffle House Caucus. So if you want to become a member of the Waffle House Caucus, just head on over to Facebook, search Waffle House Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus, and sign up. And that's all you have to do. If you want to become a voting member, which makes absolutely no sense because we don't vote, head on over to the store where you can buy a Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus shirt and or button. Joe Solosky is running for governor of Pennsylvania, and he is a true liberty-minded individual who is running for governor. Out of all of the candidates that I know of running for governor in Pennsylvania, he is the one that I would pick. So if you live in the Pennsylvania region of these United States and you want to make Pennsylvania mightier than the sword of tyranny, vote for Joe Solosky. He is the key to Pennsylvania's success. Now, no matter where you are on the internet, whether you are on YouTube, whether you are on Facebook, Twitter, Float, wherever else this is streaming. I don't even know all the streaming sites anymore. All you need to do, that I am asking you to do, how you can help us out the most, is hit the like button, the thumbs up button, the heart butt react, whatever it is on whatever social media site you are looking at right now. Hit that button and then hit the share. Just share this out. Let everybody in the world know about Muddied Waters Media. Let everybody in the world know about my guest. Let everybody know that there are alternatives out there for them. They are not going to be stuck with just the R's and the D's for the rest of their life. And after you do that, head on over to anchor.fm/muddiedwaters and hit the subscribe button. And for the low price of 2 caffeinated beverages from an overpriced coffee shop a month, you too could become one of the Muddied Militia, one of the, I'm not saying that one, one of the Muddied Militia, Muddied Musketeers, Muddied whatever we're calling them these days, and get all sorts of cool stuff. You get discounts at the store, you get discounts at Stitches and Glitches and Defy the Power, you get discounts on so many other things. You get access to short films that I have written. You get access to other things that I have worked on. You get access to exclusive Spike speeches. So much, like, you just get so much stuff that I can't even go into all of it right now. So head on over to anchor.fm/muddiedwaters/subscribe and become a member today. So now allow me to finally bring on, and I'm forever grateful that he has been so patient while I've been trying to make all of this work. But allow me to finally bring on the 2-term chair of the Libertarian National Committee, Mr. Bill Redpath.
Matt.
Oh, look at that.
Good to be with you. Finally, we're doing this, huh?
Finally. I totally forgot to change your name on here, though, and you are not Andrew Heaton, so we're just going to do that really quick.
I am in some countries, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. So before we get into everything, you and I actually have a weird connection. You first ran for the House of Representatives in Northern Virginia against a man named Frank Wolf.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
When I was a young, bright-eyed, chipper young buck who had hope for this world, I gave a speech, and Frank Wolf was the undercard speaker. I was the headline speaker of this event, and when I walked up there, I'm 17 years old, and I'm probably about the same height, but I'm skinnier, and I look probably 14. And I went up there and I gave this speech, making all of these adults just cackle with laughter. But I opened the speech by saying, I'd like to thank my undercard speaker, Congressman Wolf. Don't worry, sir. One day you'll reach my ranks. And he died laughing. So after the speech was over and we'd done everything, he came up to me and he said, and I don't know how old he was at the time, because in my mind, Frank Wolf, from the time that I knew who Frank Wolf was up until the time that he passed away, I believe, right?
No,
No?
I'm pretty sure he's still alive. Yeah.
Oh. Well, I was pretty certain he was about 80 when I met him. So, and that was, but I just assumed he was. And he came up to me and he said, I don't ever want to lose my seat, but if I do, I want it to be to you. And I said, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I hope I never have to take your seat from you. And then that was it. And then I called him one time when I got arrested. And I said, hey, can you get me out of this?
He never said that to me, having me taking his place in the U.S. House of Representatives. That is unique to you.
That is something that, I don't think he said that to many people.
Yeah. I think he was in there for 34 years, I think. I think he was elected in 1980, and then he did not run for re-election in 2014.
Okay. Yeah. So this was like in 97, 96, 97?
Okay.
96, yeah. Somewhere around there. And he and I, that was when I was still very young and very stuck in my GOP ways that had been inundated on me since I was a young child. So I was very much a conservative Republican, and he was like, yeah, you should definitely take my seat. And I was like, thanks, I appreciate that. So let's actually start there. What year did you run for Congress against Frank?
That wasn't my first time running for office. That was actually in 93. But when I ran for U.S. House of Representatives for the first time, which was against Frank Wolf, it was 2010.
Okay. So first time you ran was 1993. Was that still in Virginia, or was that before Virginia?
That was in Virginia. Yeah, I lived in Virginia from 85 to 2019, but that was for Virginia House of Delegates.
Okay.
And then after that, in 98, I ran in a special election for Virginia Senate. I was a Libertarian candidate for governor in 2001 in Virginia, which was quite an experience. Then U.S. Senate in 2008. And I can really pick the years to run for office. And then U.S. House in 2010 and 2014. Then I moved to Illinois in 2019. I was a candidate for U.S. House of Representatives in Illinois in 2020, and now I am the U.S. Senate nominee for the Libertarian Party in Illinois in 2022.
And that is really the real reason we are bringing you on today, is because we want to talk about that. But you have one of the most storied careers for somebody in the Libertarian Party, which is, some of this stuff is absolutely amazing. You've been the 2-term chair of the Libertarian National. You've been a 3-time treasurer for the LNC. You've been on the LNC for 21 plus years. Have you held an office, or have you just been a member?
Well, I was an officer when I was chair or treasurer. I don't think I've ever been a regional rep. All the other times, I think I was elected as an at-large representative to the National Committee. It was in 2 segments, 4 years from Labor Day 89 to Labor Day 93. And then I had about a 17-year run from 2003 to 2020.
And that is absolutely unbelievable. And you've been an 8-time candidate for public office, which we're going to go over that a little bit. We're going to go over that a little bit in a little bit. But one of the things that you are massively well known for, and one of the things that every single person absolutely sings your praises about, and I have to give you all of the credit in the world for it, is how great you are with LP Ballot Access.
Well, thanks. It's a passion of mine, and I just, it's so important. I mean, to be a political party, you've got to get on the ballot, or at least to be a visible political party. And it's just something that I'm personally good at, if I may say myself. I'm a good petitioner, but it's so important to get on the ballot. And I think, the Libertarian Party, we're not the R's and D's. I can't really say we're a major party in the United States, but clearly we're the number one minor party in the United States, and that means something. I mean, it doesn't lead to a lot of high level elected offices, but if you look at the vote totals, I mean, you look at Joe Jorgensen and Spike Cohen and their vote totals in 2020, and I think they got 81% more than all of the other candidates combined.
Right.
That is, you take the Green Party and the Constitution Party and this party and that party, the Working Families Party, you add all of their vote totals for president up, and Jorgensen and Cohen got 81% more than all of their votes combined. And then you look at U.S. Senate, U.S. House, and then the offices where we are elected at the local level, you add it all up, and it's really the longevity. They talk about minor parties. It's been said that minor parties are like bees. I think they sting and die, but that's not the case with the Libertarian Party. And the reason is that we are an ideological political party. We don't latch on to a Ross Perot who's here for an election or two and then retires from politics, and the Reform Party quickly fades away. We're certainly not tied to Donald Trump, that's for sure. And it's good. That's the reason that the Libertarian Party lasts as long, has lasted as long as it has, over 50 years, and it's going to last a long time into the future. And it's really because of the fact that we are wedded to ideas and not personalities.
So let me ask you a question. This is something that people have asked me multiple times in the past, and I don't honestly have a good answer for them. So I'd like to get your thought on it. You've been with the party. When did you join the Libertarian Party?
April 30, 1984,
Okay.
According to LPHQ.
Okay. So longer than me. But so in your time with the Libertarian Party, you've seen a number of Libertarian candidates. Obviously, just going backwards, you had Joe Jorgensen, Spike Cohen, you had Johnson Weld, you had Johnson Gray, you had Bill Barr. I don't remember Bill Barr's VP.
Bob Barr.
Bob Barr.
Wayne Allen Root.
Yes, and Wayne Allen Root. And then I am blanking on that guy's name that ran in 2096.
You mean 2004, Michael Badnarik.
Okay.
Michael Badnarik was the presidential nominee in 2004.
In 2000, that's right. Yeah, I'd skipped that one. And then 2000 was
Harry Brown in
96. Right. So we have seen where you've had Republican governors come over and run, Republican governors or Republican senators come over and run as libertarians. And then we've seen homegrown libertarians run. Which one do you think is better?
Well, I do think that there is something to be said for disaffected Republican politicians who are interested in the Libertarian Party. I think it's a good thing for the Libertarian Party that Republicans who are dissatisfied with the Republican Party, and there are no doubt a lot of them, and I think there are going to be more going forward, but I think it is a positive thing for the Libertarian Party that they are interested in us. If we didn't have ballot access, if we didn't have the depth and the breadth of the political will that we show and the motivation that we show constantly, they wouldn't be interested in us. So I think that's a good thing. I'm certainly certainly I'm perfectly okay with people who've been in the Libertarian Party a long time, but the problem is because of our election system and ballot access laws, it's tough to develop a bench, so to speak, to
Right.
accede to the presidential nomination. It
That makes
just
sense.
we only have had one Libertarian congressman, Libertarian Party congressman in our entire history. That was Justin Amash. He was not elected as a Libertarian. He became a Libertarian during his last term. So the fact that our election system and ballot access laws make it so difficult to elect people to state legislatures and the U.S. Congress, it makes it tougher to develop people who will be seen by the public. We can't just look inwardly in evaluating candidates. I think we have to make a judgment as to how the general public, including non-libertarians and small L libertarians, are going to view our candidates. And that has to be considered, I think, in our nomination processes.
And yeah, and I would agree. Back when Gary Johnson ran in 12 and then again in 16, that was one of the things that a lot of people were bringing up was, why are we going with another Republican? Why can't we put in a libertarian? Because Bob Barr left a sour taste in a lot of libertarians' mouths. And I voted for Bob Barr. He was the first libertarian that I voted for. And because I looked at Obama and I was like, I don't want this guy. And then I grew up in a very conservative household that my entire life I have been told John McCain was terrible. And they're like, he's just a Democrat, pretend like that. He was the first person I heard referred to as a rhino. And they were like, he's terrible. He needs to be out of office. And then he wins the nomination in 2008. And everybody was like, well, we got to vote for John McCain. He's going to be the future. He's what we need. And I was like, this is the guy that 8 years ago you were saying he's terrible. He needs to leave the party. He may as well just be a Democrat. And now you're saying we need to vote for him. But you said that you would never vote for him. So I'm going to look at this other guy. And I started looking into Barr and I said, I like some of these ideas and I hate these other two. So I'm going to vote this way.
Yeah.
But
no, I think Bob, I'm sorry.
No, please go ahead. Yeah. But what
no, I think people sometimes don't recognize the sacrifices that people potentially do make and potentially make to come over to the Libertarian Party from a major party. I mean, there's going to be ostracism involved with a lot of those people that they're going to experience. I think Bob Barr was a changed man from who he was previously. I mean, I came to like Bob Barr as a candidate and personally in 2008, and I think I at one time I didn't care much at all for the Bob Barr that the person he was, maybe 8 to 10 years earlier. But I do think he was a changed individual, and as a part of that, he decided to seek the Libertarian Party nomination. So I think that it's a sacrifice to be a candidate at any level for the Libertarian Party, but particularly people who came up in the tradition in the two-party tradition of this nation, which I don't care for at all. That's why I'm involved in the LP. And I'm really involved in the LP not just because I'm a libertarian, but I'm also totally disgusted with the two-party system. It needs to change. People deserve more effective choices at the ballot box. And I think there's a book published a couple of years ago by Lee Drutman called the Two-Party Doom Loop. And I think that is absolutely the case in this nation. I'm involved in the LP to bring about political change in this nation that really goes beyond just libertarianism.
And that is one of the goals that I know many of the people watching and many of the people who are going to be listening to this on anchor.fm or their favorite podcasting app later they feel the same way. Most of us did not get into the Libertarian Party thinking it was going to be an easy ride. We got into the Libertarian Party because we saw the two-party system. We see the corruption. We see everything that's wrong with it. And we sit there and we go, we need to change this. And we need to change this. And there's this party that just wants us to be free, that just wants us to be able to live our lives without having to deal with the government oversight on every little thing that we do. That's not going to take 30% of our income. That's not going to put all these burdensome regulations on us. So that way, when we try to start a business or, you know, whatever, we're going to be held back. You know, I don't need to have a license to braid hair, you know, and they see that and then they go, okay, we know this is going to be a difficult road. This is not going to be easy. However, I believe in this and this is what I'm going to do. I still think there are a handful of people that join up in the Libertarian Party because they think I can be a big fish in this small pond. But I think those people mainly will filter themselves out and swim back to the Republicans or the Democrats.
Yeah, I'm LP through and through. I mean, it's like I said, I think that some of those people maybe don't object. They're attracted to us for certain reasons, but at the end of the day, they're comfortable enough and accepting enough of the two-party system that they're willing to go back. With me, if I were to say, okay, I'm done with the Libertarian Party, I'm going with the Republican Party, one of the reasons I don't do that, aside from all of the incredible flaws of the Republican Party that are obvious, it would be me implying or saying essentially that the two-party system is okay when I don't think it is. Right. So I'm not going to surrender and just throw my lot in with the lesser of two evils. I gave up on that whole concept about 40 years ago.
Right. And that was one of the things when I first switched over to the Libertarian Party, because I was originally non-affiliate. I was a non-affiliated party, or I don't remember how they have it.
Did you party? Was this? I mean, in terms of party registration, maybe you were an independent or unaffiliated, something like that.
Yeah, in Florida they have a weird thing. In Tennessee, I was unaffiliated. In Florida, it was no party affiliate. MPA, no party affiliation. I had to think about what, because the nap kept falling in my head and I was mixing those letters up. But yeah.
Don't want to have dyslexia with that situation going on.
Right. But yeah, so I was no party affiliate. And when I switched over to be a libertarian, I was saying, you know, we need to make this third party stronger because we want more people to join. And a lot of people were saying, you can't do that. You're not going to be able to bring them up. You have to change a party from the inside. And my response always was, I've seen people attempt to do it. They just become part of the party and part of the problem. They don't ever make any real change in the party. And outside of like your outliers, like your Ron Paul, he made some change, and Rand is kind of trying. Thomas Massey's doing okay, but outside of those people, you don't really see it. So much so that Justin Amash left. To become a member of the Libertarian Party. So I think that focusing on growing the Libertarian Party is the quickest way to reach, to get liberty in America in our lifetimes.
Well, I agree with that. And I would also say that to make the Libertarian Party more effective, I think we need to support electoral reform in this nation. That is, things like ranked choice voting. Yes. I know some people like approval voting, and I think approval voting is certainly better than the plurality voting we have. I don't think it's going to be widely adopted. It's generally in our society, but ranked choice voting is making great strides. But we really need to go beyond that into some form of proportional representation for legislatures. That would make Libertarian Party candidates far more electable than what they have historically been. Ranked choice voting is certainly a step in the right direction toward that. I don't think that we will see a lot of electoral victories just through ranked choice voting. But if we had multi-member districts for state legislatures and for the U.S. House of Representatives, with like I said, multi-member districts, and using ranked choice voting for that, we would see libertarian candidates on a widespread basis, I think, being elected to the US House and to state legislatures.
Yeah, I would have to agree. What Brian Lambrecht, who you know and I know really well, he just
Yes.
put something in the comments. What did you run for in 2020?
U.S. House of Representatives in the 6th Congressional District here in Illinois, which,
Okay.
yeah, in 2020, that's what it was. Really, I mean, it was one of the few good things that happened due to COVID, because that came about. Illinois has horrible ballot access laws, and you can read about how horrible they are at my website, redpathforussenate.com. And but in any event, usually in my congressional district, it would take 16,000 signatures. Well, in 2020, it would have taken 16,000 signatures to get on the ballot for U.S. House of Representatives, and that's absolutely ridiculous. In Virginia, it's 1,000 valid signatures to get on the ballot for U.S. House of Representatives. But the Libertarian Party and the Green Party, due to the shelter-in-place order issued here in Illinois back in 2020 as a overreaction to COVID,
Right.
it basically just made it illegal to go out and petition. It was my understanding. And so the Libertarian Party and Green Party sued the state of Illinois, and several of our candidates were put on the ballot automatically. Any candidate, any office for which we were on, or the Green Party were on in 2018 or 2016, we were put automatically on the ballot with no signatures in 2020. Everybody else, which included me, their signature requirement got cut to 10% of normal. So 16,000 became 1,600. That was doable. And I thought, if I'm ever going to get on the ballot for U.S. House of Representatives in Illinois, I better do it now.
Yeah, this is the year.
It's now or never,
Right.
for U.S. House of Representatives, barring some sort of change to the ballot access laws in this state. And so I and Brian Lambrecht and a mutual friend of ours, Preston Nelson, who ran in an adjacent congressional district, worked hard, and a few and other people as well, but the bulk of it was the three of us got the signatures I needed to get on the ballot. But then there's this horrific challenge process in Illinois. I turned in 3,100 signatures for 1,600 valid, and I had more than enough, but I think there were Republican operatives who tried to use this challenge process to kick me off the ballot, and I persevered. It was kind of ridiculous, frankly, the whole effort they went through. But and they took it to court. I can't tell you what all they did, but eventually I persevered and made the ballot.
So what brought my attention to your race in 2020 was that the bass player for Nirvana, Novoselic. Is that how you say that?
Novoselic.
I have only read that on the back of my CD covers. I had no idea how to say it. Novoselic. He endorsed you in 2020.
Yes. I served on the board of Fair Vote, which is an electoral reform organization. I talk about the Libertarian Party and electoral reform that I think is necessary to make us more viable in the electoral process in the United States. But I met Chris back, I can't remember what he was chair for. Was it 9 years or 11 years, something like that? So I met him about, no, wait a minute. It's even, I'm thinking here. It was probably more like 15 years ago. But at first, I have to say, at first, I didn't really recognize his importance in the history of music. But I came to know him. But he's a tremendous fellow. You would never know, really. I mean, the way he comports himself. He's very friendly and humble and a great guy to know. But I served on the board of Fair Vote with him for about a decade and a half, I think. And he's no longer on the board. I'm no longer on the board, but we still are in touch. And he donated to my campaign in 2020 and endorsed me, and I really appreciate it.
No, that's amazing. I grew up loving Nirvana, and no, that when I saw that come across the feed, I said, "Wait, what?" Uh,
Yeah.
that would be like my dad seeing that Paul McCartney endorsed somebody. He'd be like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah,
um,
yeah. Well, it's interesting. Paul McCartney worked with or played with Nirvana a few years ago. They won a Grammy. Cut Me Some Slack was the best record of the year for the Grammys, but that goes back about
God,
that was about 6 or 7 years ago, maybe
yeah,
something like that.
yeah, that was a while
Yeah,
ago.
yeah. But we actually had to postpone a Fair Vote board meeting because Chris couldn't make it because he had to be at the Grammys in LA that week. But I guess it's a good reason to postpone a board meeting because your chair is going to win a Grammy with Paul McCartney. That's not a bad reason to postpone a board meeting, I guess.
Right. So let's talk about your Senate race a little bit. You are currently running for Senate in the state of Illinois, famous for wanting freedoms. Actually, from what I understand about Illinois, is that outside of Chicago, it's not as authoritarian as everybody makes it out to be. I could be wrong.
I suppose that's so. I mean, certainly there's it's a lot of states have these schisms, including the one I moved from, Virginia.
Right.
Um,
That's why I left.
George Allen went. Pardon?
That's why I left.
Okay. I mean, it's like in Virginia, Fairfax County has about 1/8 of the population of the entire state.
Right.
And there are people who, in fact, George Allen, when he was a U.S. senator, I think got into trouble, frankly, because he said, well, this isn't when he got in trouble over, but it sort of started where he said, "Well, welcome to the real Virginia, downstate, downstate somewhere."
Yes.
And so there's,
I think he was in Richmond when he did that.
I'm not sure it was in Richmond, but I think it was southwestern Virginia, more rural Virginia.
Oh, okay.
And so, but every state, well, not every state, but a lot of states have this, urban area versus rural area schism. And but it is, I think, particularly intense in Illinois, where there are various moves afoot to basically break Illinois up into at least two states. I don't really think that, at least in the foreseeable future, that movement has political legs. But Illinois is, I don't know about the authoritarianism. I mean, the taxes are high basically all over the state,
right?
And I think higher certainly in Chicago than any place else. But Illinois is, it's hurting economically. I mean, the population is falling. I think 87 out of 102 counties suffered a population loss from 2010 to 2020. Then I just read, I think where 81 of the 102 counties lost population from 2020 to 2021. And there is a exodus from this state that is, frankly, if anything, occurring worse outside the Chicago area than it is in the Chicago area. And it doesn't seem to have any end in sight.
And so what was the genesis for you deciding to run for Senate this year in Illinois? Was it the taxes? Was it the lockdowns? Was it none of the above? Was it just sort of the fact that you've kind of always had the passion for liberty and you want to get the message out there? Or was there an impetus this time?
I at first was going to run for governor, but we had a candidate for governor who only wanted to run for governor, and that's Scott Schluter. And he and John Phillips, who's currently on the LNC, form a ticket. And it is a ticket, unlike in Virginia, and some other states where governor and lieutenant governor is not a ticket. It is a ticket here. And so, and we had a shortage of candidates this year. And we ultimately put together a full slate of 7 candidates, including U.S. Senate and the governor ticket. So that's 3. We have Secretary of State, Attorney General, Treasurer, and Comptroller. So basically, we needed candidates. I was able and willing to do it. And so that's why I did it. I mean, I thought I want the Libertarian Party to show up in as many elections as possible up and down the ticket, both for offices that we don't stand a great chance of winning and offices that we do stand a great chance of winning. I think it's important to show up with libertarian candidates wherever possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that running candidates for the Libertarian Party, running candidates in every race available is exceptionally important. I understand a lot of people, especially those joining the party, kind of get that rush right around election season, and it's like, we have a chance to win the presidency, and I'm like, no, you don't. You really don't. That's just not going to happen. You're not going to win a state yet, but maybe one day soon. But they'll get it for governor, they'll get it for attorney general, they'll get it for lieutenant governor, whatever. But the importance of running the president, the governor, all of those is because you're trying to get the city councils, the mayors, the county commissioners, those people elected as well. And we're seeing that growth, which is great. Across the nation, more and more libertarians are being elected nationwide. And it is amazing to see that growth from the party at the local level, because that's where it has to start. Because you have to prove you can do it locally. And then people will start getting elected to your state senates or your state houses or whatever, however you have it designed in your state, all the way up to the Senate and to the House. And I just going to jump out here on a limb here and say that I really hope that you are the first libertarian elected to the Senate. Big fan of that idea.
I would be able and willing to serve. Although going back to Washington, D.C., where I lived in the D.C. metro area for 34 years. But believe me, there is absolutely no doubt I would absolutely be willing to serve in the U.S. Senate for at least 6 years. No question about it.
And you would know your way around the metro. It hasn't changed all that much.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. If it's still running by the time you get back there. But yeah, I mean, exactly. But well, there are two reasons. I mean, first of all, there's winning the election, but a big win for us would be just getting 5% for governor or one of the other statewide offices that would give us ballot access in future elections with having to do greatly reduced petitioning.
Yes.
So that would be a win. But even though a lot of these offices, frankly, aren't winnable for Libertarian Party candidates, our record proves that. I'd certainly like them to be, but it's important that we speak out on the great issues of the day. I mean, I'm all for running for lower level offices and trying to win those offices. But the farther you go down in government, the more managerial government becomes by necessity. I mean, it's who's going to pick up the roadkill and a lot of other things that are important issues to people's everyday quality of life. But at the same time, you don't have the opportunity to speak out on the great issues of the day, which I think libertarians should do. That's really a big part of the reason for the existence of the Libertarian Party is to speak out, speak truth to power, so to speak, because really, I mean, the other minor political parties aren't in great shape relative to us. And there are certain things that if they're going to happen, in like I said, speaking truth to power to the Republicans and the Democrats, only the Libertarian Party is going to do it. And so that's important as well as winning elections at lower level. And I think a lot of times people look at candidates at the higher level races and they say, I like that candidate. They're afraid of the whole wasted vote syndrome.
Right.
They're afraid to vote for that candidate, but then they'll vote libertarian down ticket, so to speak. And I don't mean to besmirch the importance of those offices, but we'll call it that. That's generally what they're called. But I think there is an effect of candidates for lower level offices getting votes if people like the libertarian candidates who are running for the higher level offices.
So we have a question from the audience. I'm not even going to attempt this guy's last name. His first name is Alex, though. Alexander. He says, what are Bill's top 3 issues? Now, I don't know if he's wondering if like libertarian issues like ballot access would be what he's referring to, or if he's talking more on the federal level. But just give me your top 3 issues overall and what you would be pushing for the most should you be elected.
Well, I would say, first of all, overall government spending, that government has to, there is so much in the federal government that can be done away with, including the Department of Education, the Department of Housing and Urban Development. There on my website, I have a list of it's actually from Chris Edwards at the Cato Institute of government spending that can be reduced, and it goes over $1 trillion per year. And then including the defense budget at 800 some billion dollars now being proposed by the Biden administration. That's way too great. So overall, reducing government spending. Certainly entitlements have to be addressed. I support the Cato Institute's 6.2% plan for Social Security. I think it's the best plan to get us from here to there in terms of Social Security reform. The most important thing is to allow younger people to be able to take their 6.2% FICA contribution and invest it in private accounts that are inheritable. That is not allowed under the current system. The dirty secret of Social Security, frankly, is that there are no personal property rights in Social Security, and that particularly hurts the poor and minorities who tend to live shorter lives and then don't receive Social Security and don't have something then that they can pass on to their heirs. Obviously, Medicare has to be addressed in terms of changing the system and I think giving dollars to patients as opposed to directly paying for services. That's really, I mean, it's really a crying shame that the Medicare entitlement situation is not talked about more. We're only 4 years away from the Medicare trust fund, quote unquote, becoming exhausted, after which right now it would look like payments to medical providers would be cut by 9%, which is not going to go over well in the medical community. That's for sure. And I would say, the social issues as well. There's an old saying, so old that nobody uses it anymore, that people join the Libertarian Party because of two issues, not the same two issues, they're two issues. And with me, it was Social Security and the drug war. I really joined the Libertarian Party because I knew Social Security was a horrible system for young people, and also the drug war was being fueled back in the early 80s by Ronald Reagan and the Republican Party. And he wanted to throw people I knew in jail, which I thought was a travesty. And that's when I said, forget it, can't do this two-party thing, can't do the Republican Party, forget it, I'm done, and all that. So certainly the drug war is a huge issue as well, and other social issues that where we need to maximize, have freedoms that historically have not been granted to the American people.
I absolutely agree with all of that. The drug war is one of the big issues that I have. I am 7.5 years sober now. Haven't had a drop of alcohol in that long, and haven't had any narcotics in not quite that long. But it's one of those things where, even though I don't do it, and it's because I know that I can't control myself, I will continue going, and I will end up right back where I was. If smoking cigarettes is a good way that I describe this. I haven't had a cigarette in 11 years, but anybody who watches the show regularly knows how often I vape. If I were to smoke a cigarette, I know that in a week's time I'd be up to a pack a day or more. If I were to open a beer and drink it, I know within a week's time to 2 weeks' time I'd be back up to a case plus a day. But because I can't handle it doesn't mean that other people shouldn't be allowed to do it. And that's the same thing the same issues that I've had with other things in my life, with with weed, with cocaine, with other things that I'm not willing to admit that I've done on the air. And it's stuff that I know that if I were to ever do it again, I would be right back where I was, and that's not where I want to be. But that doesn't mean other people shouldn't be allowed to do those things. So
yeah,
please.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just
going to say, to treat all that as a criminal act is absolutely insane.
Absolutely.
Harry Brown, God bless him, he would always refer to it, and I think of Harry Brown frequently because I frequently call the war on drugs, the insane war on drugs, which is always what Harry Brown called it. And I absolutely salute him and remember him and love him for doing that, because he's calling it as it is right there. That's for sure. And excuse me. And one other issue, frankly, is tax reform. I support unfortunately, in the foreseeable future, we're going to have some level of taxation. I think the best way to go is through the Hall-Rabushka flat tax. We need as a society to encourage people to work, save, and invest. That's what we need to do as a part of the tax code. Stop the social engineering, and we want to collect the taxes that are, we unfortunately have to collect the taxes that are necessary to run a minimal, much smaller government than what we currently have. But I do think it's important to not tax capital gains. This plan, I mean, it's just the first thing government should do is make sure a catastrophe doesn't happen. That's the number one.
That's what they're supposed to do.
That's the number one duty of people elected to public office, is to make sure a catastrophe doesn't happen, and to reject bad ideas. Among them, just about everything that comes out of the Biden administration with respect to economics is a bad idea.
Yes.
But this idea of taxing unrealized capital gains is crazy. And I have worked since 1985 doing business valuation work in media and telecommunications, and it is just amazing. And the doing valuation work can be difficult. Of course, it's subjective. I mean, everybody's got an opinion, and a lot of people, you know, they either, depending on the situation, they want a high value or a low value. But there's a lot of work. It is amazing that members of Congress never stop to think, what is the administrative cost of my legislation or my ideas going to be, aside from the actual taxation? How difficult is it going to be? How expensive, how complicated is it going to be to administer this tax? And that seems to never enter Elizabeth Warren's mind, or anyone in the Biden administration right now. And it's amazing.
I appreciate the fact that you think Elizabeth Warren or anybody in the Biden administration has a mind that it could enter.
Well, they obviously do. They're constantly baking up bad ideas.
Well, that's why I don't think they really have a mind. I think they're just going to, like, let's just throw this out and see what sticks. We got a couple of questions from people in the audience. Tony Mackin, one of our wonderful subscribers, she wanted to know what your opinion on term limits are for people in the Senate and the House. I am of two minds of this. I see both sides of this argument. So what are your thoughts on this?
I would support term limits. I think that it's not the real issue. I don't think it's as good as going to a system with multi-member districts, whereby we get many more people running. I mean, right now we have such an uncompetitive democracy, particularly in Illinois. Just to give you an example, 2014. Well, let's go to Virginia first, which you hail from. I mean, they're within the past, at this point, I want to say within the past 10 or 15 years, in the Virginia House of Delegates, you have 100 single member districts for the Virginia House of Delegates. Right. In the recent past, within the past 10 to 15 years, there was 1 year where 62 of the 100 seats had only one candidate on the ballot, and another year, 63 out of 100 seats had only one candidate on the ballot, not one challenger, one candidate. And the thing is that this is never talked about in the media. They'll say, oh, well, there's a hot, House of Delegates race in District 37 in Northern Virginia. And they'll talk about the very few races where there is actually an interesting election going on, but then totally ignore the bigger story of almost a supermajority of the legislature, the House of Delegates, just walking back in. Here in Illinois, in 2014, 19 of the 59 seats of the Illinois Senate were up for election. That year, 12 of the 19 seats had only one candidate on the ballot, and the other 7 had 2 candidates on the ballot. Of course, R's and D's in those 7, no minor party candidates who couldn't make it due to the horrendous ballot access laws in the
Right,
state.
because you needed
So I think
16,000 signatures.
yeah, and so so I would say this, that if you had multi-member districts and reasonable ballot access laws that didn't keep everybody except the R's and D's off the ballot, you'd have more candidates running, people would have more effective choices, you'd have more ideas being discussed during election season for people to consider. And I think that is a far more effective electoral reform than term limits would be.
Okay. And Alex had a question and asked if you would be, I think I know the answer to this question, would you be in favor of abolishing the DEA?
Yeah. I mean,
I was like, I feel like this is I feel like this is a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think that we ought to end the federal war on drugs, just like the feds ended prohibition with the passing of, what was it, the 21st Amendment? I think it was 18 and 21. 18 was bad, 21 was good, I think.
Right, I think.
But yeah, and I think so. There was a chain, and I think still is a chain of liquor stores in Indianapolis called 21st Amendment Liquors. So that has to be repeal of prohibition. That can't be the institution.
That wouldn't be the first one.
That would be a marketing mistake by them, I guess. But in any event, but I think we ought to let the states address the issues as to what they think is appropriate. And that's the importance of federalism. That's the importance of allowing, it's the old phrase, 50 laboratories of democracy. But that's the good thing about mankind advances through trial and error. And that's what can happen with the states in this nation if the federal government allows them to do it.
So, and yes, absolutely. Like, get rid of the DEA. We don't need it. Let the states decide. Like, let Florida figure out which ones they want to allow here, and let them have their own enforcement agency for the ones they don't allow here. Then let the people of Florida fight it there. You don't have to worry about the people of Oregon fighting for legalization of everything, here in Florida. Here in Florida, you can worry about fighting for the legalization of the things that we believe should be legal. I think it should be everything, but I know that's an uphill battle right now.
Well, no, I think the dividing line as to what is legal or illegal ought to be the pharmacological nature of the drug. And if there is a drug that by its very nature, say, causes people to be violent, then that drug should be prohibited. But otherwise, and I really don't know of any drug that causes that, that would cause people sort of by definition to behave that way. We certainly can't have people, taking a certain drug and then chopping up half the neighborhood, something like that. But other than that, it seems to me that everything should be legal unless a drug causes that.
So even in that case, my thought is every drug should be legal, and taking the drug shouldn't be illegal. But if you are on the drug, whatever you do on the drug, you are criminally liable for. So
for sure,
if you go out, I don't think, and people get mad at me about this a lot, I don't think that drinking and driving should be illegal. I think that 0.08 is a ridiculous number, and that it's called fundraising. But if you were to crash into somebody's house, crash into somebody's car, kill people, you should be punished as though that you committed homicide, or that you did property damage. You should be convicted for that. The drinking and driving, not so much. If you're on cocaine, we'll say cocaine. If you're on cocaine or heroin will be better for this, that'll make slightly more sense. If you're a heroin addict and then you go and you steal a bunch of stuff from somebody, you shouldn't be punished for the heroin. You should be punished for the stealing of stuff, because you're actually taking stuff of other people's. That's my personal opinion. So even if there's a drug out there that causes you to be violent, it is up to you to take the drug. So the drug may not be illegal, but if you do something violent on it, you're going to get punished to the greatest extent for doing it.
Right. Well, yeah, you can't use the excuse, oh, the drugs made me do it. You took the drugs.
Right.
I will say that, driving under the influence should be illegal, but I do think it's arguable what is the proper level, say, of blood content, alcohol content in blood. That I agree that 0.08 and it was 0.1.
Yeah.
And there's a movement
To make it 0.05
going on in the United States, make it 0.05. Exactly. I
Yeah.
think maybe Utah has adopted that. And I find that, that seems to be
I think
extreme.
I think DC has a zero tolerance policy. So if you blow a 0.01, you're getting a DUI.
I did not know that.
I
But
think that so, and I could be completely wrong that that's a real thing, because the person that I know that I heard this from was telling me about somebody else, and that guy's an aggressive, arrogant. What's the right word for this on the air? A-hole
I don't know.
is the best thing I can come up with, and I could see him being upset about being pulled over, and then the cop being like, okay, well, if you're coming at me like this, I'm just gonna arrest you because you're just being
Right.
this way. But from what I understand, yeah, DC is a zero tolerance. So if you have, from the story that I heard, and I never researched any of this because I didn't care that much. If you have like a glass of wine, 2 hours later, you could still get a DUI.
That strikes me as completely ridiculous. And moreover, I think people, it's the way individuals react to it, or sort of their mental state or their mindset when they drive. I mean, people react to liquor in different ways.
Yeah.
But I think that what I'd like to know is, have any state legislators actually, they could take them to a track somewhere off the street, and have any state legislators actually tried drinking to certain levels and then get in the car and actually seen what it's like. I'm not aware of that. And I think they ought to do that, frankly, before those who are not teetotalers ought to go do that and actually experience this themselves, different levels of alcohol content in the blood, before they begin passing legislation that is going to criminalize people.
When I was in Tennessee, that was when that might have been when I was drinking the most. I was living in Nashville. But I got to know a lot of cops really well, because they all came into one of the restaurants I worked at. And one of them told me, because he would always see me and I was always drinking on my shift, off my shift, I was always drinking. And he said, we're running a new program where if you come in on a day off, with a couple of your friends, we will pay for you all to get drunk at the station. And then we want to see how you would do in field sobriety tests and stuff like that. And then we'll pay you for your time. And I went, so you're going to buy our alcohol and then pay us for our time, and we just have to get field training and how to get through a field sobriety test? And he said, yes. And I went, yeah, we are in. We are all in. I can get like 6 people right now. And so we did that. And it was a good time.
Well, I find that story hard to believe, because I didn't think anybody in Nashville drank.
I don't think anybody in Nashville doesn't drink.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
from my experience there, everybody drinks in Nashville. So
okay, if you say so.
So before I let you go, first of all, I want to say this has been fantastic. I loved having you on. But I want to allow you the chance to announce that there is an event on April 18th. Can you tell us about it?
Yes, there's going to be a Bill Redpath for U.S. Senate fundraiser. It's actually going to be called Revenue for Redpath, and at Jesse Unruh, which I'm dating myself here, I think he was a Republican operative in California years ago. He's now deceased, but he's the person who said money is the mother's milk of politics. That saying is attributed to him, and he's unfortunately right about that. It takes money to run a political campaign. It's absolutely true. But we're going to have it is Monday, April 18. And I'm not sure exactly how people can access this. I'm not.
To the best of my knowledge,
maybe you know.
To the best of my knowledge, it will be streamed live here at Muddied Waters Media.
Okay.
And we will be sharing it out from there. I know this is the information I have on this event, is that it is a fundraiser, the revenue for Redpath. I'm very excited about it. It's April 18th. It's going to be starting at 8 o'clock Eastern, I believe.
That is correct. 8 Eastern time that evening.
Yep. And it's going to be hosted by yours truly and the 2020 Libertarian Party vice presidential nominee, Spike Cohen. We will be hosting this event. I understand that there's going to be a ton of guests. I don't have a list of anybody that's going to be there yet. So can you tell us a little bit about who's going to be there and what?
Yeah, I call it. I have not. Well, I hope Brian Lambrick isn't listening now, because I've called.
I know he was in the comments earlier.
I have an idea. All right, I'm just springing this. I'm just springing this idea to call this the roster of guests, a murderer's row of guests who won't violate the nap.
Man, right? I'm a Red Sox fan, and Yankees references don't fly over well, but I'm going to accept it because it's your event.
All right, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were a Red Sox fan. At least, I mean, many of the people watching aren't going to know Murderer's Row. Well, it was from the 1920s, right?
20s or 30s. 20s or 30s.
Yeah, it was like in the 20s or 30s. But the New York Yankees had such a fearsome lineup in batting that they called their lineup
the Murderer's Row. That was Babe Ruth and Mickey Mantle and Babe Ruth.
Well, not Mickey Mantle back then.
Mickey Mantle was at the end of it.
No.
Wasn't he at the end of it?
Oh, I don't think he was a part of it at all. He's way too young for that, I think. It was Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig.
I was thinking Lou Gehrig. I don't know why I said Mantle.
Okay. It was... Yeah. And a whole bunch of other guys I should be able to tell you off the top of my head, but due to a brain freeze, I can't.
I get it.
But in any event, a murderer's row of guests who will not violate the non-aggression principle. Presidential candidate 2020, Jo Jorgensen, she's going to be on. Former national chair Mark Hinkle. You talk about people who go back. I joined in 1984. I'm a youngin' compared to Mark Hinkle. He goes back almost to the get-go, back in the 1970s. Mary Ruwart will be on. Jim Turney will be on. Laura Ebke will be on. The former Nebraska legislator turned LP member. My fiance, the beloved Julie Fox, will be on from Illinois. A whole bunch of Illinois people. Jim Lark, my oldest friend probably in the Libertarian Party, met Jim in 1986 at a Marshall Fritz Advocates for Government seminar in Bethesda, Maryland. It's going back. And Lex Green, who's my webmaster. And anyway, so that's and more to come. I'm still casting my fishing fly, whatchamacallit, and I may nab a few more people here, get them voluntarily or not involved in this.
Right. You're casting the net, but the net's just gotten much smaller now.
Well, and of course, Brian Lambrecht will be there, needless to say, and a lot of fellow Illinois libertarians as well. So we're still looking for people to be a part of this, and we're looking forward to it. I've been looking forward to it since Brian brought it to us. I'm very excited to do it, and thanks to you and Spike for doing it.
No, absolutely, it is our pleasure. It is
Yeah.
absolutely our pleasure.
But
So
if people have the urge to give before then, of course, if they have the urge, it's okay to wait until the 18th. But my website is redpathforussenate.com.
I was
For
just
the
going up to
US,
grab the link so I could
okay,
put that in there.
redpathforussenate.com is where to go for all sorts of good stuff.
So everybody out there, go to redpathforussenate.com, redpathforussenate.com. A lot of people in the comments are saying have Larry Sharp. So if you want to reach out to him, if you want to have him on, it's up to you.
Oh, that's yeah, of course. Yes. As a matter of fact, I was with that might be feasible.
Okay. Well, see, look, there you go.
Don't have them lined up, but inspiration like that is something that will not be ignored.
Right. So there you go, Joe and Alex. He said he was going to look into it. Thank you all. So thank you, Bill, for being on. Everybody go to redpathforussenate.com. Give to Bill. Let's get him into the Senate. We need somebody like him in the Senate badly. And then tune in on April 18th live right here on Muddied Waters Media, where you will be able to watch Spike and myself host a night that's going to be very much like the Libertarian Oscars, except it's online. So I doubt anybody's getting punched in the face over a joke. But if somebody does, I guarantee it's me. Bill, thank you so much for coming on. Do you want to pitch anything else before you go? The floor is yours, whatever you want to say.
I would just say this. If there's anything else right now, I just want to pitch Libertarian Party and Ballot Access, the Libertarian National Committee and Ballot Access, lp.org/ballot access. We've got a petition drive in Alabama. I went down, did a week of volunteer petitioning down there, 6 calendar days to be exact, did 588 SIGs back in January. That's almost done. We have petition drives coming up in New York and Illinois, of course, and Massachusetts. And we right now need funds to make ballot access the greatest success it can be in 2022. So lp.org/ballot access. If you have some spare dollars to give toward that, believe me, it will be used to put libertarians on the ballot and hopefully into elected office.
Beautiful. And if anybody knows about this, it is you. You are a champion when it comes to ballot access. Again, everybody that I have ever talked to in the Libertarian Party that is involved in ballot access in any way, shape, or form recognizes you as one of the foremost authorities in how to get it done. And to that, I say thank you. Bill, welcome. Thank you again so much for coming on. We wish you all the luck in your campaign. We here at Muddied Waters are supporting you, and we are looking forward to the 18th unbelievably. We are definitely looking forward to it. If you need anything, please do not hesitate to reach out. We will always be here for you.
Thank you, Matt.
No problem. Joe Hanush wants to know, how do I get people to sign my petitions? I'm going to give him this one last question because it's a good one, actually.
I'm sorry. The question is how
do I get people to sign my petitions?
Well, here's my pitch. I mean, it's whatever works, as long as you are not misrepresenting anything, whatever works to get the signatures. My pitch, if I'm out there, say when I was down in Alabama in January, somebody would walk up and I'd say, "Excuse me, sir or ma'am, could you sign a petition to allow the Libertarian Party to return to the ballot in Alabama? It's not an endorsement. It's not saying you'll vote for us, but we need the signatures of over 51,000 registered voters in the state just to get on the ballot and give people a choice. Now, could you sign our petition, please?" And that's it. Now, that some people think that's a little wordy and a little too much information. So whatever works. Some people just say, "I'm trying to get a friend on the ballot," and give a much simpler message. But I'm not afraid to say Libertarian Party. I always say Libertarian Party in my pitch. I don't think it's a negative. I think it's a positive to let people know about the Libertarian Party. And I also like to communicate in the pitch the difficulty. When I say we need 51,000 signatures in Alabama to get on the ballot, it's 25,000 in Illinois. It may be fewer signatures for your particular race. But I would just say when it comes to getting signatures, just let them know it's not an endorsement, and it's, you know, it's not saying that they're not committing to vote for you. This is just to give people a choice at the ballot box. And my pitch is kind of educational as well, because I like to tell people things, try to tell people things they didn't previously know. And particularly when I can convey the difficulty of the ballot access laws in this nation, people more often than not are shocked. They have no idea that it's so difficult to get on the ballot in a nation that is ostensibly the beacon of democracy for the rest of the world. So that's what I would say. But I was, it just comes down to your personal style. I was once petitioning for Ron Paul back in Massachusetts in 1988, and I was in front of a grocery store, excuse me, and there was another petitioner there. And his pitch was, there's one of these trash cans sitting outside with the top, you know, those trash cans that have a top, but there's a, near the top, there's a hole in the side,
right,
that you stick the trash in and drop it. But above that, there is a top. And those make lovely desks, by the way, those kind of trash cans. And he set the petition, set the clipboard right on top of that thing. People would push their grocery cart out of the grocery store, and he would stand there and say to the person as they approached, he would say, "Hey, have you signed this?" And that was his pitch, basically, was that he would actually just say to people, he said, "Hey, have you signed this?" And it worked for him. It did. I was totally astounded. And so it ultimately, it's whatever works for you to get the signature without misrepresenting anything is what's right for you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you on the 18th. If you need
Absolutely.
anything at all,
to it.
Yeah, if you need anything at all, please reach out. Thank you so much.
Will do.
All right.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. How great was that? How great is Bill? I have talked to him numerous times as we have been attempting to make this show work, and I am elated that we have finally gotten a chance to make it work, and that I got him on because he is a fountain of information, and he is just an amazing person all around. Be sure, if you want to help out, Redpath for USSenate.com. You can go, you can donate there. Or on April 18th, live right here on Muddied Waters, me, Spike Cohen, Bill Redpath, a bunch of other people that he named that I can't remember off the top of my head because I didn't write them down, are all going to be here. And we are going to have just a great night. We are going to have so much fun. So be sure to tune in for that. Again, thank you all so much for tuning in. I humbled every time, but that's basically it. Tomorrow we have two episodes of Mr. America, The Bearded Truth with Jason Lyon. He's going to be kicking the day off at 2 p.m. Eastern with superfan Sarah Anderegg. That would be the love of my life and my fiance, my future bride. With him at 2 p.m. Eastern, and then at 6 Eastern, he has Mr. Libertarian in Chief himself, Todd Hagopian, is going to be on. So be sure to tune in tomorrow for that. Then I know Spike is in Texas. I think he's in Dallas. I don't know. It's hard to keep up with his schedule, but I think he's in Dallas. Then next Tuesday, tune back in right here at Muddied Waters Media, where Spike Cohen and myself will be parsing through the week's events, like the sweet summer something or others that we are. It does not look like there is an episode of My Fellow Americans next week. I could be wrong, but if there isn't one, you have Wednesday off. And then next Thursday is the Muddied Zoom, where all of our subscribers get to join together on a Zoom call with me, Spike, maybe Jason, Maybe Jason, maybe the Eskimo Libertarian, maybe others. We never know who's going to show up to this event, but it's always a good time. If you want to be a part of that event, all you have to do is head on over to anchor.fm/muddiedwaters/subscribe to become a member today, and you will get a notification. You will get an email next week with the link so you can join that Zoom. So, again, thank you all for tuning in. Before I go, your fun fact of the week is David Broderick is the only sitting senator to die in a duel. And this actually occurred because of in-party fighting, led to Broderick being challenged on his anti-slavery values. He fired early. He fired prematurely. And gentlemen, we all know what happens when you fire prematurely. And his opponent shot him in the chest, and he died 3 days later. Fun fact of the week, David Broderick, only sitting senator to die in a duel. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And remember, no matter if you're white, if you're black, if you're Hispanic, if you're skinny, if you're fat, if you're straight, if you're gay, if you're trans, if you're whatever else, at the end of the day, it's night.
I am swinging from a 7th-story window, throwing parties in a 10-by-7 cell. It's astounding the lengths I'll go to convince the whole damn world I don't need anybody's help. Yeah, I am waving while I drown. Don't bother swimming out to save me, I will only drag you down. I'll try to use your body as a life raft, 'cause if there's room enough for one, there must be room enough for two. I'll sail the good ship you into the sunset, sipping on savory water till my liver turns blue. Sha-na-na, is broadcast in the evening news. I will be relieved. La, I am waving while I drown. Don't bother swimming out to save me, I will only drag you down. I'm waving while I drown. Don't bother swimming out to save me, I will only drag you down. La, 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 singing, hey, hey, alright, yeah, I wrote that one myself. It's astounding the lengths I'll go to convince the whole damn world I don't need anybody's help. Fuck.